Alright, hey there guys, hope everyone's doing well. I'm just out here going on my usual walk, as per usual. I think today I just wanted to talk about a topic that people might be familiar with already, or it might be new to some of you. It's about this concept of dreams and the personal, subjective dream world, and whatever this place is, some kind of shared, co-created reality, as the narrative goes. So it seems to me that when I have my own dreams, everything that I see with my ego, because the ego, by its very nature of being language-based and dissectory, if that's even a word, or it splits the world up into pieces, sees things as separate from itself. Its nature is to separate, its nature is to see it as an entity apart from everything else. That's how you can get people who are incredibly egotistical. They can feel fine about just littering the environment and not really caring about other people, because that's the nature of rampant egos without an intuitive, holistic, compassionate backing behind it. So my personal dreams, everything that I see there, that because most of my dreams aren't lucid, I think that what I see outside of myself is actually objectively outside of myself. When, then I wake up and I think to myself, well, that was just all created within my mind, and what I saw outside of myself was but a reflection of my subconscious landscape. And all sorts of crazy things can happen, things that would just be impossible in real life, but the part of our brains associated with logic and critical thinking gets turned off in when we're sleeping. So the impossible seems feasible to us, but it's all a perception game, isn't it? It's all about your mental machinery, your mental framework at that given time. At this given time, chemically based, if you take on a materialistic view of the world, which I don't entirely, but I think that material and the spiritual are linked through correspondence in some way. So I can just as equally use a material explanation in order to satisfy the spiritual domain. There's no distinction to my mind. Everything is the spiritual domain. So matter is some density of vibration, in my opinion. So what was I talking about? Yeah, the subjective dream. So all of that is definitely ourselves, and we know that there are techniques we can employ in order to elicit lucid dreams, which I find really interesting. For a moment in time, just being the god of your own personal universe. That does sound pretty fun. But, there's arguments to be made that whatever subconscious processing that normally can be facilitated by dreams for the conscious person to use as symbols for a narrative that's playing out in their current life, that natural process of coming in touch with your shadow can be negated through lucid dreaming. So I guess there's downsides to lucid dreaming as well. So where I'm going with this is that in the case with lucid dreaming, one second, there's people around here. So in the case with lucid dreaming, we have full control over our reality, because we are the sole arbiter of it. If we, that's really where these sorts of solipsistic views can be applied. That's fair enough. And so then we think of the waking reality as some distinct place separate from the fantasy world of the dream. This waking reality is concrete and solid and is, as people say, actually reality, when I would argue that this place is no different from a dream, except that personal dreams are subjective, personal, but this place seems to be some sort of shared collective dream, and it ties into the whole organic portal theory from my point of view that all forms of organic life here is some kind of resonance pattern for higher forms of awareness to resonate with in order to have an experience through. As I say, this place is just a density of vibration, and it's all vibration at the end of the day. So, and it's a slippery slope when trying to define the units that can inhabit entities here, because you can get some hive minds, egregore forms of consciousness, and sort of like Mother Earth or this demiurge or subcultures in terms of the human population, etc., etc. So it seems to me that there's, like I mentioned before, there's definitely different. I feel that there's different forms of consciousness here piloting this organic portal realm, and this place is a co-created reality, and I can verify this by the mere fact that I have to some extent control over the dream, albeit very little, because there's a lot of competition over the mental real estate, because everything that exists externally had to first originate within mind, whether it be a product of nature or some human constructs that came out of the ego, technology, art, language, what have you. So I have limited control over my personal life. I can walk a certain distance every day. I can build something over the course of a few days. I have limited financial influence. Unless I decided to become psychopathic and resonate with that frequency, then materialistic rewards come at you, at the cost of your soul, of course. So yeah, like, my influence here, I feel, is quite limited, but also so what we see externalized, this craziness of the demiurge, and then the contrast with Mother Nature, they're all different expressions of some origin within the mind and minds. So it's all about numbers, really, at the end of the day. And I feel like this is kind of obvious to a lot of you people. Yeah, of course we need numbers. I just sort of wanted to give a more what would I call it? But just my take on the sort of metaphysics that surround reality creation. All originates from mind, and matter is a density of mind, and this organic portal realm, and mental real estate, and then the Wetiko hive mind virus, and all of these stuff is distinct within language, but really it's just one meshed together homogeneous system, and I kind of don't do service to the complexity of it with the sort of triviality of my meager attempts to use the ego and human language to put it into some kind of construct. It's really not like that. So we know that, so what we're, as human avatars, and being one of the only species, well, the only species on this planet that has to pay to live, well, it's either that or I won't go into the enslavement of factory farm animals, but other than that, the rest of nature seems to be relatively free. Because we're dealing with human organic portals as souls, being the only form of matter that seems to be able to withhold a feedback loop of self-identification, self-recognition, the universe becoming aware of itself, fragment of the source. I think you guys get what I'm saying. No other forms of life have egos. We know that egos can become dangerous if they become separated from an observer, as they become extremely malleable to whatever hive mind influences affect it. We know that reality is generated by the aggregate form of consciousness that commands most of the organic portal structures here. Humans have a huge influence over the physical expressions that we see here. So some people say we need the masses to get on board with consciousness, and I think that the nature of this Wetiko hive mind virus is that of religion. Take responsibility off of my shoulders, hand it on to some god. Doesn't have to be an Abrahamic god, it's just government's a religion. But so we don't need most of humanity to get on board. Most of humanity seems to want to have their minds to be given to them. I like the 20-80 rule, where 20% of the people normally do 80% of the work across all sort of or a wide range of social applications. So I guess I'm applying it to the human population, that we perhaps only need 20% of the people to get on board, and then the 80% that remains will just, as they do with their religious mindset, switch their gods. That's not to say that they should be controlled. If we give them some form of reality that's better than the current one, then it also tames them as well, because even though they're highly programmable, I feel compassionate for some of them, because I see that those who express interpersonal traits, they do have a care for what seems to be given to them as for their ethics, in quotation marks. I mean, they don't quite understand the difference between ethics and morality, but they have a real conviction in their ethics, and I think that conviction is authentic within the scope of the range of their perception, which is demiurgically based, even though it can be argued that what they're a part of is the most evil construct we can conceptualize. There's something, there is real care within their capacity, even though unfortunately psychopaths mislead them and make them take part in this enslavement grid. So if you can just change the program, if 20% of the people here become somewhat aware, then we could really, we don't need the masses. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Even though the masses participate in this shared co-created dream, and we need the masses to get on board in terms of the raw reality generation, the physical expression. Mentally, we can still use their same religious mindset. We know that they don't change. We know that this NPC extreme personality type, I call people NPCs, but obviously I'm talking about a spectrum here. There's no distinction between a pneumatic and a hylic. There is a distinction, sorry, but it's not just binary. There's different grades, and we once resonated more hylitically earlier on in our lives. I know I certainly did. So I feel like I'm rambling a little bit here. What I'm saying is that these people perhaps don't need to change. We just need to give them a different program. I don't know how to do that. I mean, it seems to me that money is the blood of this world. Those with money can buy influence over the propaganda. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say. It's just some thoughts about the distinction between, why it seems like we're so disempowered here. It's because there's all these fucking entities that's overpowering authentic soul here, manifesting reality through their overabundance, but through us understanding the mechanisms of Wetiko and its operations in the shadow, we can get beneath the foundations and not change their fundamental nature. We can trick these entities into resonating on our path, because the tenacity of our souls has been able to override the programs of this place and our base nature and fallacy to descend into hive mind's mentality. The strength of authentic soul energy can use the darkness of Wetiko's power against itself. We can fight fire with fire, but still allow ourselves to conform with our morality. I don't think it's immoral to give people a better program, even though you could argue that there's coercion involved from a libertarian anarchist perspective. No coercion's involved. You like what the controllers do. They offer people a choice. People choose evil. We can offer them the choice of good. Kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't know if there was any sort of concluding points to this video here. Perhaps it's helpful for some of you guys in whatever way possible. And wow, look at these. I always find these, how do I switch the camera on this? Look at these mushrooms. I always find these really cool mushrooms every time I come out here. This thing is huge. Look at this. It's like, here's my hand. I wonder if this is some kind of cousin of the Amanita. I'm not too sure. Anyway, I'm probably going to go off now. So take care, everyone. Let me know what you think about this co-created reality. Adios. Hey there, guys. So there was one thing that I forgot to mention that I really wanted to point out, and that's this link between the subconscious and the subjective and the collective dream. So if the subjective dream is the manifestation of our subconscious symbolically, it's also interesting how the collective dream imprints onto our subconscious too. So there's this link between both forms of reality generation, because it's all a holistic system and there's no distinction. It's just that our egos perceive distinction between the waking shared co-created dream and this subjective dream that we have. We say that the collective dream influences our subconscious, but maybe and that imparts onto the subjective dream. But what if the subjective dream influences the shared co-created dream? So I'm not sure if lucid dreaming could do something interesting there. Perhaps there's work that you can do even in those spaces. Perhaps that's, so in contrary to the point that I made earlier about interrupting the process of shadow work, perhaps if you had so much control such that you could become lucid whenever you want, then there's some potential to do conscious shadow work by slowly, lucidly realizing the dream, but allowing the subconscious symbols to manifest without holding them back. So not taking control of the dream, but just observing the dream as if being in a contemplative, meditative state, as we might do in the waking reality. Yeah, it's all connected, but I'm not quite sure how to put it together yet. I don't even know how to lucid dream myself, and I know that there's reality checks that you can implement. I know some people like pinch themselves, or then they habitualize the pinching. They're doing the dream, they realize they don't feel any pain. Bam, you're dreaming. Checking your watch, seeing whether the time changes. That's another way of doing it. I don't know. There's something else to think about.